in terms of job creation and in terms of investment coming in, these guys go on strike. It's really a shame. So I'm asking them to be smart. It's not working. They're getting killed in the polls. The public understands what they're doing. They're doing the wrong thing. And with that, I just want to say welcome to the White House.
Well, that was short and sweet. I thought that was longer than that. Let me go to the next clip. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now in Congress on this whole shutdown thing. So let's see if we can get to there. And all right, let's look at this one.
Home is a reflection of you. It all starts with service.
Leader's been his opportunity to negotiate on the Affordable Care Act with you if you reopen the government. Why won't you take the deal?
The bottom line is that's no deal. That's a partisan plan that leaves the American people high and dry. And they've asked us for 45 days and 45 days and 45 days. When they say another 45 days, later to them means never. We have to get them to the table and negotiate with us now.
Okay, so there's Chucky. Let's see what the other one. All this vitriol, a lot of anger. Okay, let's see what Speaker Johnson has to say. This is also funny. It makes me laugh. It makes me cry. I always have these things.
Who have been rearrested on various charges. Did President Trump make a mistake by just offering up a blanket pardon for every single person that was convicted as a result?
I don't know any of the details of this at all. I don't know who's been alleged to have been involved in this. I will say that anybody who threatens political violence against elected officials or anyone else should be have the full weight and measure of the Department of Justice on their head. I trust that that'll happen. I hope it will. We are intellectually consistent about that, obviously. I will tell you this. The violence on the left is far more prevalent than the violence on the right. Don't make me go through the list. You all know it. All of these the assassination culture that's been advanced now, this is the left in almost every case that is advancing this and not the right. So let's not make it a partisan issue. You don't want me to go there. We're just going to say anybody, any deranged individual, this has to stop. And the rhetoric that you saw on display on Saturday, we highlighted yesterday, it plays into this, okay? There are people that get triggered. There are deranged people in society when they hear elected officials participating in a rally that was paid for by Soros and sponsored by communists with signs and placards and mantras that were repeated that we should bring death to, fascist politicians. What they mean is they call every Republican a fascist now. They're calling for the death of elected officials. Please, enough of that. We got to stop it. Stop the rhetoric, stop all the nonsense, and stop the violence.
Thank you.
Look, I'm not going to address it because I'm not sure the details of this, and I think we've said enough. You know where we stand. One of you should stand there the same way. We denounce.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, let's see. Just trying to give you a hodgepodge of stuff that's been talked about today.
Listen to the Booknotes Plus podcast with Brian Lamb every Tuesday.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for being here this morning. For those of you that are keeping track, this will be day 20 days since the Democrats recklessly shut down the United States government. And the Democrats are making some very costly history here. Don't lose that in all that's happening. This is now the third longest shutdown in history. And when you look at it carefully, it is now already the longest full shutdown of all time. You had an example in 2018 and you had one back in 1995 that were longer, but they were partial shutdowns because they only affected a part of the federal government. This is everything. And it's also important for us to note, this is the first time in history that any party has had the audacity to shut down the government over a totally clean, nonpartisan continuing resolution. This is a political stunt, and it's the first time it's been done, and it is the most costly, most selfish, most dangerous political stunt in the history of the United States Congress, because as we have stood here day after day after day explaining all the Americans who are being harmed by this nonsense. And the Senate Democrats have zero shame about this. They don't have any shame at all about the pain that they're inflicting upon hardworking families, upon soldiers and law enforcement officers and veterans and the elderly and the disabled and women, infants, and children. Services to all those categories and paychecks to those folks are being stalled because Democrats are playing games. Today, Leader Thune in the Senate will once again bring the clean, nonpartisan CR to the floor for a vote. They will have another chance. Democrats will have their 12th opportunity to pass the bill. It is the same bill that they themselves supported just 7 months ago, and Chuck Schumer gave impassioned speeches on the floor about how it was the only option. And don't forget, they did it 13 times under the Biden administration. Very similar measures, but not now. Something's changed. Over the weekend, we saw what it was all about. The Democrats made crystal clear that this is about politics. The politics were on full display. The politics, the spectacle, is what the mobs, the crowds, the rallies this week were all about. It was quite ironic, though. The irony was very glaring. They called it the No Kings Rally. But the great irony, of course, that we pointed out over and over was if President Trump was a king, the government would be open. If President Trump was a king, he would have closed the national parks and the National Mall, so they couldn't have had the rally out here. By the way, that's what President Obama did during the shutdown in 2013, closed all the parks and the National Mall.
Right.
Here in Washington, you had Senators Bernie Sanders, Chris Murphy, and Cory Booker and others marching in the streets. Now, these are the same senators who voted over and over to shut down the legislative branch.
I remember in 2013, I was up as in DC then, and I remember the Iwo Jima statue getting shut down. It's absolutely right. Obama shut down the parks, wouldn't let people even go to the Washington Mall, to the Lincoln Memorial, any of the sites.
And hand the reins to President Trump.
Okay, enough of that one. Let's go back one. Let's see what else we got here. All right, let's see what else we have. I already saw those. Shaheen, oh my God. Jean Shaheen, you gotta be kidding me. She is a Fruit Loop for me.
Everybody got choices. Everybody got choices. Everybody got choices.
Well, thanks everybody for coming here. I especially want to thank the Secretary General and the Ambassador for being here, where we've been given an update on a number of things, including what I think are very promising developments in our cooperation among the NATO members for resupplying not only Ukraine, but modernizing the whole of NATO. I want to express my appreciation for my partner, my Democratic colleague, Jean Shaheen, for all the work that she's done over the years with the Senate NATO Observer Group, and yield to you for questions. Maybe give an update on legislative
That'd be great.
activity as well.
Well, I will just echo the appreciation to have Mark Rutte, the Secretary General, and Ambassador Whitaker here to give us an update on what's happening with NATO and Europe. I reported to them that we're very excited that in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee this morning, we passed out the first 3 bills that address Russia's unprovoked war in Ukraine today. One would declare Russia a state sponsor of terrorism because of their kidnapping of Ukrainian children. And the second would allow us to move forward using the repossessed assets from Russia to support Ukraine in this war. And the third would be to take an effort at China to stop the war effort, their support for the war effort from China. All of those bills passed unanimously out of committee, have strong bipartisan support, and we look forward to getting them to the floor soon so that we can join the Europeans as they look at using the repossessed assets in Ukraine and all join hands and do everything we can to support Ukraine. So, Secretary General, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for hosting me and Ambassador Whitaker this morning. And I want to thank the senators for their staunch support for NATO. Since President Trump was re-elected, NATO has been renewed, reinvigorated. We decided in The Hague under his leadership to spend 5% on defense, therefore also basically equalizing what Europeans and Canada are spending on defense with the US. So the Europeans and the Canadians stepping up. Also when it comes to Ukraine, the President deciding to send weapons again to Ukraine, but paid for by allies. We are working very hard on that project. The first couple of billion of weapons already shipped into Ukraine from the US, paid for by allies. And of course, Europeans stepping up when it comes to security assurances for Ukraine post a long-term ceasefire or peace deal. And of course, we all pray for that to happen soon. I will see the President later today. We will discuss further how we from NATO can be helpful in delivering his vision of getting a full-scale peace in Ukraine, which of course we all pray for after his enormous success in Gaza. So again, thank you so much for hosting us, senators, and thank you for your leadership.
We have time for a couple of questions.
Secretary General, Sky News, can we just ask, is your visit here at this moment not an indication that President Trump's meeting with President Zelensky on Friday was a total disaster?
No, not at all, because this was already planned before. I was texting with the President after an enormous success in Gaza, and we said, hey, let's have a meeting in Washington to discuss how we now can deliver his vision on peace. And when it comes to the meeting last week, Friday, you have also heard President Zelensky. I think that was a good meeting. It was a successful meeting. It's exactly what we need. It's the American president who broke the deadlock with Putin in February, took that leadership role, which only he can, and he is delivering. And I'm really commending him for that. So that was a good meeting, and we will build on that.
Secretary General, can I just ask you, recently Donald Trump suggested that Ukraine could win back all lost territory. Now he's saying something quite different. How worried are you that in that phone call with Vladimir Putin, he persuaded the president to go softer on Russia?
Well, I have total confidence in President Trump. And he is the only one who can get this done. He is the leader of the most powerful nation on earth. You are all citizens of the most powerful nation on earth, the most powerful economy, the most powerful military, and you have a president with a lot of experience because of his first term in office, and who has a clear vision on bringing this war to a durable and lasting end. He wants that. He wants to end the bloodshed. He wants to end the killing. And he knows how important it is. And this is a big deal for him, for all of us. So his leadership here is crucial. He is clearly providing it. And he has to dialogue with all the leaders. He has to dialogue with Putin. He has to dialogue with Zelensky, exactly as he did in Gaza, putting pressure on all relevant parties to get the deal done. And that's exactly what he is doing here.
Mr. Secretary, thank you, Senator. 2 questions for you. The first, to that end, do you believe another meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin would be productive? And second, do you think a ceasefire is necessary before real negotiations can start?
Well, let's start with the second question. The president himself was very clear this weekend. Stop where you are, which is which sounds simple, but of course is also exactly right. So I was I totally agree with him. Stop where you are. That's the main message. And again, we will dialogue this afternoon further, and I'm there to help him to deliver whatever NATO can do, me personally, the ambassador, all of us can do to help him to deliver on that vision. And clearly going forward, I cannot now predict exactly what type of meetings, in what type of setting will happen. But it will mean a lot of discussions with all the leaders involved, including the presidents of Russia and Ukraine, no doubt.
Should that happen together?
Secretary General, you mentioned the success in Gaza. What do you think can be replicated when it comes to negotiating between Russia and Ukraine? And then to the senators, what do you think is the cost of the delays on sanctions that we've seen so far?
Well, you know, every conflict obviously is different, and at the same time you can draw lessons. And I think what the president did at Gaza, and let's not forget, this is a huge win. And only he was in a position to do it. And he took the risk, he took the leadership role, and he used the enormous power of the United States and leveraged this with his leadership to get the deal done on Gaza.
Look at Shaheen smirk as he was saying it. Only he could do it. It's funny. I love it. She is like, she cannot stand Donald Trump. That's so funny.
I commend him for that. And now he wants to do the same, as he's been doing since February, when he had his first phone call with President Vladimir Putin of Russia. And all the discussions he had with NATO leaders, with, of course, the president of Ukraine. He wants to deliver the same for the war in Ukraine. Again, I cannot now predict exactly by what steps this will all happen. But obviously, it will still mean a lot of discussions. It will not end tomorrow. But I'm fairly confident that we can deliver on this vision.
It looks like the summit is on ice now. Do you welcome that delay?
Again, I'm not going to comment on every step in the process because it's very difficult for me to assess exactly how the process will now evolve. But clearly, in the future, there will be many more discussions with the leaders of Ukraine and of Russia in whatever format, in whatever setting, to deliver peace.
Thank you all.
Just on the point of saying, one thing that we should be very clear with the Secretary General, we're having discussions about NATO allies putting 5% into meeting 5% standard for NATO support. They're doing things very, very differently, and they're doing things differently because President Trump has pressed the issue. And I believe that President Trump is best positioned to bring a lasting peace to Ukraine. We're going to have discussions about how we can continue to enable him with legislative action on sanctions in particular, which I'm interested in. But I think we also have to follow his lead.
Thank you all very much.
Are you planning to move these bills that you passed as a package?
That hasn't been determined yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Wanted to just share what's going on in our government today with a little commentary. Not much. I try to keep the commentary down, and hope you all have a great day.